You can now get a Wrangler Rubicon for about $50,000. We'll find out if it's worth it in today's video. I'll include a link to the Jeep Insanity's website in the description down below. Also include a link to my car buying guide. Let's get into it. Powering this is the 2.0 turbo that goes through an 8-speed. Fuel economy is 20 around town, 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 270 horsepower and then 295 pound-feet of torque. You can also get the Rubicon with the V6 if you prefer that powertrain. I'm trying to hit 500,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'd really appreciate it if you'd help out with that. The new Wranglers have an antenna built into the windshield. This reduces wind noise. The Rubicon has vents there in the hood. Just looks cool. Now this does have the upgraded LED turn signals as well as the headlights, and then you've got the new grille design, which I think looks a little bit sharper. Red recovery points. This particular one has the plastic bumper, but you've got fog lights in it at least. Now normally I'd say the plastic bumper's a miss, but it's so easy to change bumpers on Wranglers. Now tire wheel setup is 285 by 70 by 17. They call it a 33, but this is like a 32.7, so close enough, I suppose. I like the silver with the little Jeep logo there in the center too. And then this is going to have unpainted fender flares, but we've got rock rails. And then it also has the unpainted top, but it doesn't really pop out too much because of the color. And that's one reason why I picked this particular Wrangler. The metallic gray kind of hides the unpainted elements. It kind of ties in together quite well. Now, surprisingly, you actually get remote start with this one. Of course, the Jeep logo on the back and the flip out key, which is cool. But I do think it's nice that you get remote start with this version. We also have keyless entry for the swing gate, which is a nice feature. It's very light because, well, we'll talk about that. Anywho, 12 volt in the back. Of course, you got the painted cage in the back as well. Plenty of storage space. Again, the Wrangler's not a huge vehicle, but it's practical enough. And they're not forcing you to have the baseline taillights. This has the upgraded LED taillights. So this is how they get the price so low. No spare tire. I'm just kidding. There's a problem here in Salt Lake with spare tires getting stolen off of Jeeps at dealerships. It happens every so often. It happened when I worked here too. So yeah. Suffice to say, if you buy one of these, you will get the full-size spare, but maybe consider getting locking lug nuts, just saying. But let's check out the interior. So you actually get soft touch here on the door panel. There's a little storage pocket down below. Now you're not going to get the upgraded leather seats at this price point, but you do get these nice cloth seats with red stitching. And the rear passengers have vents. You also have the window controls in the center, and then we've got an outlet down below with some cup holders. Keyless entry again for the front, and let's check it out. More soft touch here on the door panel. You've got your regular mirror adjustments and everything too. Payload on this is 850 pounds. Cloth on the seats, again, Rubicon logo, and the seats are manually adjustable. This even has automatic headlights, which is nice. And let's start it up. They've got this new trim around the steering wheel. It's nice to the touch, and you notice this one has adaptive cruise control. It even has the radio control in the back of the steering wheel too. This also comes with the upgraded gauge cluster that's partially analog, partially digital. I think it's a nice even mix. Just the backup camera, no forward-facing camera with this. And then the infotainment system, all Wranglers have the same system. It takes a second for some of the pages to load up, but it's pretty user-friendly overall. This does have dual-zone climate and heated seats and a heated steering wheel. It also has Jeep's little off-road cruise control. And if you don't like auto stop start, you can turn that off. Window controls in the center, and then some charge ports on either side of those window controls. 4 auxiliary switches, and then we've got our Off-Road Plus sway bar disconnect, and then diff locks for the front and the rear. Part-time 4-wheel drive system, but it has a 2-speed transfer case, and being a Rubicon, right, you've got the 4:1 ratio. Plenty of little cup holder storage there. Got your regular parking brake, and then I love Jeep center console. It's not massive, but it's cool. USB port inside too. Nice trim on the top. Also have nice trim on the grab handle there. Now sadly at this price point you're not going to get top insulation, but it's very cheap to add after the fact. Now the sticker price for this is already under $60,000, $59,405. After discounts, however, the price drops down to closer to $50,000. It's about $52,000 on this one. Setting off in the Rubicon. When I saw the updated prices on these, I was like, you know what? I think this is worth a little video. Plus my Jeep's getting some stuff some work done on it. Can't talk today. So gotta kill time anyways. It also has lumbar, which is nice. It's manual, but you know what? That's the one thing that I actually like about the base Rubicons that they used to have with all the Wranglers is manual adjustments. I know people like the power adjustments now, but like, if I could have it, I wish that the power adjustments were just an option and weren't standard equipment on the loaded up packages. So the 2.0 turbo is very smooth. I still prefer the 3.6 V6, and I think most people do. And I mean, you look at the sales figures, and I think it shows. And I mean, you look at it like Jeep tried to get rid of the 3.6 V6, and what happened is everyone's like, yep, nope, we're not buying a Wrangler anymore. And then Jeep was like, ah, crap. So then they brought it back. I don't know if you guys remember that. It was the beginning of this 25 model year. They were like, yeah, if you want 3.6 V6 manual only, and everyone's like, what? What are you doing, Jeep? What are you doing? So the Rubicon, in terms of suspension on road, is actually, I think, one of the best Wranglers. It doesn't have huge all-terrain tires, so, you know, 410 axle ratio, but these tires are not going to be too noisy. You hear them, but they're not too noisy. And you've got the extra insulation for the 24 plus Wranglers. But because this isn't lifted like an Extreme Recon, it has really good factory dampening, both on-road and off-road. The Rubicon, I would say, like, you don't really need to change the shocks and suspension with this. Again, if you're gonna fit bigger tires, yeah, of course. But if you're gonna just run the stock tires, this is low enough to the ground and handles well enough that, like, it's good. It's once you go up to the Extreme Recon where things kind of get a little bit dicey with the handling and everything. It's, again, not the worst, but it's enough to where it's worth modifying your Jeep if you go bigger. Which is kind of funny because it's like you're paying a premium to have the Jeep modified compared to this, but then you have to pay even more. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that, though. Sometimes life is like that, right? But yeah, this is nice. I mean, you can tell, like, what it feels like to me is it feels like the regular Rubicon has so much engineering behind it, and then the Extreme Recon was just like tacked on. Like, they're like, crap, Ford has 35s, we gotta have 35s in the factory, let's just quickly throw this together. And you see it with the, like, this, you've got full travel. The Extreme Recon, you actually lose a little bit of down travel with that setup. Again, you can kind of tell it's a rushed kit. And that full travel, I think, is what makes the standard Rubicon drive so well, both on-road and off-road. And the steering, too, it's another thing. It's like you have to add a steering stabilizer to the lifted ones, whereas this regular one, no. And I think for most people, this is more than enough off-road capability. I mean, you can, like this, again, I did a three-way comparison a few weeks ago with this against the new Land Cruiser and against the Ineos Grenadier. And this, the standard Rubicon by far did the best. I mean, this, you basically have a Rubicon with 33s, and it's pretty much as good off-road as a Bronco with 35s. Like, Jeep knows how to do the off-roading thing. They're struggling in the engine department, but they know how to do the off-roading thing. So, at a little bit over $50,000, it's not dirt Jeep by any means, but for the equipment you're getting, again, compare this to the Bronco. The Bronco has some discounts on it too. They're not as big, but you look at the value this has. You're having dual zone climate, it's triple locked, and you know, it's cloth interior, it's got sway bar disconnect. The closest thing that Ford has to this in terms of value, in my opinion, is a Heritage Edition Bronco, because that has, or a base model Sasquatch. Heritage is about 55 MSRP, base model is about 50. I don't know how big the discounts are going to be on those, so you might be able to get, like, a base model Bronco, if you're about 50, you might be able to get a little bit of discount, because Ford is doing the employee pricing thing. So you'd be a little bit less, but with the Bronco, like I said, you have bigger tires, but this with smaller tires does just as well. This has the sway bar disconnect. That's not going to have the stabilizer bar disconnect. You got to go up to a Badlands to get that. And then the other thing with the Bronco is Ford does the same thing as Jeep does with their lifted version. Basically, they sacrifice down travel to just give you more room for the tires, so the suspension isn't as comfortable. The Bilstein position sensitive shocks do a decent job. But overall, I think that's kind of like your comparison. So yeah, if you really want the bigger tires, the Bronco offers it at a lower price point, so it's kind of a better value. But if you're actually like into off-roading, the Jeep has a better setup from the factory, and you know, you spend a little bit more money into this, you can easily have 35s and everything. You'll be about the same price as the Bronco Heritage Edition with the 35s, but you have a sway bar disconnect, and you'll have the front solid axle articulation. Let me know your thoughts.